So we find to keep talking, I know that it's coming out easy. I don't like it, so. Yeah, it sounds like the numbers today are not really in need, but they're still gonna be a growing need.
Okay.
They're still mandatory retirements, there's always a negative flow, it's pretty given. And then,
I would think demand is picking up too after the pandemic.
it's something a little bit, but the economy is also. And
Should
the holiday
be host.
for the summer, it's a little bit of a soft.
You should be a host. Yep, there we go.
Then we got all the good stuff.
Let's see. Can I use your computer? Or you don't have to hold that. I think this is my computer that got started.
On YouTube.
Literally will probably allow you to know. What else?
Video and it'll pop up, but tell me when people are waiting, so I did last time.
Yes. But let me just hang out for a while.
Okay.
Good evening.
Crazy.
Hi, Ron. Sure. Lock the door, but then, you know, pick it up the phone then. I think we're being recorded, we're probably on YouTube, so just, I want fair warning.
Oh,
Chad,
early. Huh?
Chad is, well, the Keith gets me started, I don't have to do this YouTube part.
Ah,
In order to do that, he's gotta launch it.
so no cursing or trade
It's
secrets.
probably wouldn't be, all those things.
I heard spitballs.
Hi, Councilor Nishioka.
Hi.
Here she is. Hi, Councilor, how are you?
back.
I was going to come, and then I for all day long I was thinking it's online, and then I went, oh no, it's actually right here.
It can be both.
So,
In person.
here I am.
And hybrid. Just to let you know, Counselor, we are already recording and streaming on YouTube. We got it all set up so that we wouldn't have to mess with it at 6 o'clock. So just fair warning there.
Let's see.
Oh. Starting with one member of the public at a time.
Yeah. Did Mike say he was on the road?
Yeah.
My predecessor?
Yeah,
Oh,
Alan Alexander.
okay, I didn't catch that. His face, you say it.
Yeah,
5:25, something like that.
That range. Wow, we did that.
Let's say that you will change.
For a short period of
That's
time, but it's a
good.
person. Yeah, Steve, somebody.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it's like, he was here 3 months. Mark or Mike or. probably-
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Alvin was, 2010.
College.
I started in 2011.
Did you hear from Cat?
Yeah, for some reason, I just couldn't remember his name. Alan Alexander.
Yeah. Originally back a
South
couple
Side,
weeks
something like
ago.
that. I think they
She
go back to
said
Virginia.
she was fine, it worked better for her.
They family back there, so. Wow.
Okay.
I
But,
still hear from him every now and then, he'll pop in.
We have 7 minutes. left.
yeah,
We
we
are
are.
in fact.
Let's see. We have, Trevor Smith, Public Works, Public Information is going to join us too, so we can talk about communications and outreach and all that.
Have you ever talked here before?
No, I don't think you all have ever met Trevor. So we moved over to Public Works last December, so just past a year ago, but not everything transferred over at once. All the financial stuff stayed with urban development until July 1st. And then we just had this sort of messy transition because we were just in the middle of air service and getting all this going. So we didn't get everything kind of, neatly tied up.
Right.
But Trevor and his team do a phenomenal job with websites, and public information.
so this is related to you.
Yeah.
so
Yeah,
that's-
that's
I was gonna bring it up,
September,
so
yep.
It's great here. I didn't see it on the agenda.
Yeah, we,
Well, it was kind of the last.
yeah, we
minute
put it
stuff.
on yesterday, but we added 2 items, an action item, and then I put that under items for commission discussion so that Trevor could actually hear to answer those questions. I think he has some plans and some ideas and he wants to hear what you expectations are, what your recommendations might be, so you should be jumping on here.
I'm glad that somebody's taking a look at it. With a commercial airport, it's a different beast than before.
It's a bigger deal. Yeah, we're kind of a big deal now, right, Chris? 737s, right? They start showing up and it's serious. 773. Was sitting in we had an all city staff meeting on Friday morning at the Lux Auditorium at the library. It was Friday morning because the Thursday flight got delayed 24 hours for maintenance. And so just after I finished my commercial service update up on the stage, I just went and sat down, and there goes the plane just rifling over the.
Just like,
over the library.
all the door plugs were attached. Right?
Everything was attached.
They don't have door plugs on those.
Yeah, it's still
They're 700s.
Yeah.
They don't.
That's a max issue.
Actually, the 900s have door plugs as well.
That was a 900, wasn't it?
It was a Max 9 that.
Max 9. Oh, and the straight 900s and
The
not.
straight 900s have them as well. It's all depending on, because the fuselage gets big enough that certain carriers
Comes it?
can pack enough in that they need that for egress.
Oh,
No US carrier uses it.
yeah.
That's why they're packing that tight. So.
Long time no see you. Good to see people in person. You all look so much different than you do.
In a good way, huh?
In a good way. Yeah, it's not quite as, the counselor to share, though, we look for a challenge. Yeah, I don't know, sir.
Did they have any cancellations because of the weather?
2. Yeah, so the Sunday flights got pushed to Monday, but then we just couldn't get the airport open until Wednesday night. So Thursday morning, so I ended up canceling those 2 Sunday flights. Eugene canceled a bunch, PDX canceled a bunch of their flights. PDX finally got 1 runway open Tuesday or Wednesday. Eugene ended up with a bunch of canceled flights too. So thankfully, it wasn't just us, it was just ice.
Right, yeah, I know it was bigger than us.
It was very good us.
Yeah.
What needs to happen to open a runway like that?
We have to get rid of anything that creates braking problems for the aircraft, so you gotta be able to stop.
No ice.
No ice, no ice or any other contaminants or materials that would. So we actually have what's called it's a Vericom frictionometer we put in our pickup truck so we can go race down the runway, hit the brakes, and it'll measure the braking action. And then there's a whole matrix that we look
Yeah,
at.
that's what you
Some of those- Yeah, it's kind of fun. You have to do it in 3 sections of the runway. So the approach in, the center, and then
Yeah, exactly.
Right, pull around and
You
get
go
some
pro
reading.
out.
You don't see things on high tech, and you tell these stories.
Well, the machine itself's pretty high tech, but that's how we measure things.
It's not the version.
That's the high.
That's fine.
Back in 2016, we had ice, it started freezing right in the afternoon, then it snowed over top of that. And so we were out doing the friction tests and we had a beach jet that landed and he reported to the tower, braking action was good. And we went out and did the friction test right after he taxied off and it was not good. I think the snow that had started to fall just slowed him down. But when we were actually doing the friction test, it was almost nil. And once it gets to nil, we're required to close the runway. Yeah.
You don't put your flamethrower on it.
No, we got no treatment stuff out here. Thankfully, in the valley, it's mostly warm rain. These ice storms now, once in a while. So that was unfortunate. We did have 2 canceled flights. We were ready by Thursday morning for them. And then one of them delayed till Friday because they had maintenance issues.
That was amazing. We drove in to check on the hangar and you actually couldn't see that we had driven in because the ice was so thick that we were just staying on top of it. It was so eerie.
Yeah. I parked my car in the driveway. Parking brake on, transmission brake on, and woke up in the morning, it was in the streets,
Yeah,
just on its own.
we finally made it down our hill. We should have.
Yeah.
We made it down.
How does Avelo deal with it?
They either divert to another airport if there's one that's usable. So for instance, if they could have gotten into Eugene, they probably would have gone to Eugene and busted people up here, but Eugene was closed as well. So
We were here.
they were just, they were, in that case, they were. Sometimes it gets worse from north to south. Sometimes it gets worse from south. It just depends.
We had that nasty one in 2021.
Yeah.
They had their nasty one this year.
Yep. We had a year, I think, I want to say, I forget what year it was. It might have been 2016, but PDX was snow blowing and getting ready to close. And I was sitting down at Firehouse Subs eating lunch. It was no snow here at all. It just came out of the gorge and it just never made its way south in the valley. So you just never know.
Yeah.
Then we've had years where we'll have 4 days of just frozen tundra here. The temperature never gets above 30, but the other airports in the valley aren't nearly as affected. So
Yeah, the gorge is a big driver for some of that, isn't it? We get these scare reports out of Portland, and we're down here going, 45's not bad.
All right,
Um,
getting close to 6. Who do we have in the waiting room? Oh, we got Mike.
Once again, I got caught chatting. Sorry, everybody, we were regaling each other with stories of snow and ice and whatnot, so I apologize. Lux Auditorium is logging in here.
Lieutenant
Oh,
Colonel Edgecombe's on.
Hi, Lieutenant Colonel, how are you?
I'm wonderful, thank you. Sorry I could not make it in person. We just got delayed today, and I just couldn't get it together to get down there. So my apologies.
Problem.
All right. I think
We are recording.
I think we have everybody we are gonna have. So I guess, well, I guess I can run the roll call, do something really good. So, let's, call the meeting to order, and, we'll start with a roll call. Doug Brenizer, present. Kat Pennis,
Present.
Lieutenant Colonel Edgecombe,
President.
Chris Burkholder,
Present.
Mike Morrow,
Present.
Arnaud Vostoyev, present, and John Foley is present, so we have full attendance tonight. So has everyone received and reviewed the agenda for this meeting?
Yes, that's fine.
Any additions needed to that agenda? Changes? Okay, if, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as distributed?
So motion.
Any second? Second. All right, and then since we're almost all here, well, can we, if all in favor of approving the agenda as distributed, please say aye.
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 Perfect. All right, easier to not do that with roll call. Moving on to the next item, has everyone received and reviewed the minutes from the, I guess it was the November meeting? Is it November or
Yes.
October?
November 5th.
November.
Yeah, number 15. And were there any corrections or changes needed to those minutes?
I don't know, 'cause I had to do those and I didn't watch the whole videos.
Wow.
I don't have an admin, apparently you had this.
All right, so if there's no changes needed, could I get a motion to approve the minutes as distributed?
So moved.
All right, can you get a second? All right, then let's go ahead. All in favor of approving the minutes from the November 15th, 2023 meeting as distributed? Please say aye.
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 Yeah. All right, the next agenda item is public comment. I guess if there were folks present who would wish to address the commission here, you may do so now.
Just, Chairman, I just wanted, Ron from Salem Aviation, by
Thank
the
you,
way. Just wanted to say thank you to Public Works for doing a great job out there on the ramp. We handle the Velo flights coming in and out. And just a yeoman's job out there. Just really, really appreciate it. They're doing a great job.
It's great to hear. Great to hear. Any other public comment? Did we receive anything online?
No other comments received.
All right, well, we can move right on to item 5, the reports, and I guess as we've got Rob here, if he wants to give his tower chief report, go ahead.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. Yeah, I'd like to relay what Ron said too. We really appreciate all the new folks out there working the ramp with the Velo. And we've had 0 problems. Everybody's communicates great. And for a new operation, it almost seems like it's seamless and we've been doing it a while. So we appreciate that. Moving in the traffic count from 2023, we ended up with 46,128. That's shy about 1,000 operations, give or take, from 2022. Mostly it looks like it was about 1,000 operations, the GA locals. So we're a little bit down in that count. We were up in overflights. We were up in the air traffic and of course the air carrier. And everything else stayed pretty much the same for 2023. Then a couple mandatory occurrence reports we've had since our last meeting in November. November 27th, we had a rough running engine inbound. We had a smell of oil in the cockpit. We went ahead and alerted ARF. ARF responded and the aircraft landed without incident. And then on 11, actually a little bit earlier in the month, on 11/3, we had another laser light report about 2 miles north of the field. And it was one of our military folks, and we haven't really heard anything back from that one. So just another laser report. We're getting probably, I don't know, probably 2 or 3 of them every quarter now. So, and then just recently, Saturday, we had an aircraft come in. It was fairly busy in the morning. The weather broke, so people were out flying. And we had a gentleman south of this area, used to flying in non-controlled airports, and he had big old Tundra tires on, and he was cleared to land 3-4, and he decided to sidestep and land in the grass. So we had a chat about that, you know, just controlled airports and non-movement areas and what you're cleared to land into, and what possibilities of equipment, personnel equipment could add out there. So anyways, we went ahead and did a report on that. We chatted with him, and he's on board with that. So so it's been pretty quiet since our last meeting. I'd like to mention that looks like the archaeological survey for the new tower on the east side, that they're going to do some shovel probes over there. And that's to mitigate the impacts of local cultural resources. So no big bulldozers or anything like that, but just some shovel probes. So that's going to happen here in the near future. And then there's also talk of Portland P-80 taking over overhead airspace from Seattle. So that's kind of new in the works. Got a few meetings next week. And so very well, we could in the near future have Portland work in our overhead airspace versus Seattle down the future here. So,
Hey, Councilor Nishioka, I think you have your hand raised.
I
Oh,
do. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I had a question. I had a few people contact me about a lot of noise, helicopter noise, and I think it was sometime fairly recently, like maybe Friday or Saturday, because I was getting most of the messages on Sunday. I live close to the airport. I didn't hear it, but there were people south of me specifically that were saying that there was a lot of noise and low flying helicopters. Can you let me know what that was?
yeah, so we had specifically last night, we had several Army helicopters working east of the field with the law enforcement. And then we had several of helos from a flight school up north out of Portland area that were transitioning north to south on I-5. And that happens a lot, especially with the weather. Since they get a break in weather, they'll get out there and get some of their training in. So we probably had no less than 10 helos out there, helicopters last night. So.
Can you mind if I jump in here? This is Lieutenant Colonel Edgecombe. I'd like to let you know, yeah, last night was a big event. The active duty Army from Joint Base Lewis McChord had at least 4 helicopters operating down here in the valley, to include Astoria area. That's where I just came from last night. We're flying all over Astoria at about 10 o'clock last night. I heard reports that they were in Salem, West Salem area, and also throughout Portland. And it's happening more and more. The Oregon National Guard leadership is aware of these incursions. That's probably the wrong word, but it does irritate us because we're also citizens here as well. And these guys don't have the same rules that the National Guard does. They can fly very, very low, and they do it for whatever reason. I don't know why. And we are actively working with the leadership up at Lewis McChord to ask them to cease from doing that, or at least some sort of fly neighborly program down here. But it's just as annoying to us as it is to everybody else because we get the phone calls. People don't realize that we're totally different organizations. We don't talk to active duty. We're Oregon members and Oregon citizens. So we are working on that, and it is becoming more and more frequent.
Thank you for that information, because I was saying that it was potentially the National Guard, so I'll make sure I don't say that again. So thank you.
Yeah, please don't. It is not us. We fly everywhere. like 1,500 feet because we do not want that kind of pain. And again, we live here too. So thank you.
All right, Rob, you have some more?
That's all I got for you this evening.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Any questions for the tower chief? Any other questions? Excuse me. Seeing none, I guess we can move on to airport manager's report. I believe you distributed all that information with the packet.
I
Do you
did.
have anything you wanted to speak to specifically?
I would add one other thing that occurred to me after the agenda was sent out yesterday. In the March meeting, March AAC meeting, we, staff will be bringing back updates to the airport rules and regulations to the AAC for your recommendation to accept those updates. We haven't updated those since 2016. And they're due, so we're gonna add some security, added security information in there, update some maps and things like that. So I'll make sure that we distribute that to commissioners by the end of February. So that'll give you a couple or 3 weeks to read, provide any recommendations or edits that you might have, and then I'll ask for that action item in March. So that is a public process that we have to go through. So we have to post our rules and regulations publicly for 30 days for any public comment. And at that point, if there aren't any, then it becomes official. It's adopted at that point. So it doesn't require, it's a called an administrative rulemaking process. It doesn't require council approval, but council's notified as part of the public process. So we did this. I don't know that any of you were on the AAC back in 2016 when we last updated the rules and regs. So you're probably not familiar with that. There won't be a lot of big changes, but some. So that's coming up the next meeting. So an action item there. Other than that, I did submit quite a bit of information in the packet, some air carrier operations and employment numbers. And included some information from the master plan update that was sent to the planning advisory committee back in December. So I want to share that with you. I don't have anything else to add, but as always, happy to do a Q&A if there's anything you have questions about, anything I didn't include.
There was one thing, John, that was mentioned at the users group meeting is that on February 12th, the codes would be changed and people that had registered, had badges would get the code and those that didn't would not.
I'm going to defer to my airport security manager, Aaron Eisen, and he can give you an update. Yeah, and we've had a little bit of movement since then even, so I'll let Aaron address that.
Yeah, so we're getting to the point where the TSA is wanting some significant movement on badges. So the gate code change is really meant to tell people that we're getting serious. So we really need to get badges issued. And that doesn't mean that we won't give gate codes to people who aren't in the process, right? We understand that the process does take a little bit of time. So if we get their badge application, they can get a code. In addition to that, we're going to be updating the gates to include access control, which will come around the same time. So we're looking at adding card readers to all the gates. So we'll do a gate code change, kind of shake the tree a little bit, get some more compliance, and then turn around and activate the cards at the same or around the same time. So it really is meant to just push that compliance a little bit further across the line and hopefully get better adoption.
And you said this was February 12th?
That's what was mentioned as.
Yes, yep. So the gate codes will change on February 12th. We'll distribute that a couple weeks before and then throughout the.
Yeah, and as Aaron indicated, part of that is to kind of gently force some compliance, but it's also, we haven't changed the gate codes in several years. And so the security aspect of that really is kind of non-existent at this point. The problem with codes is, of course, we can change the codes on February 12th, and by February 13th, you can have handed that code out to everybody you know. So it's not a great system, but it's going to be an intermediate step before we do the badge in, badge out, because ultimately, then if you haven't come in yet to get your badge, you will not be able to get to your hangar. So you will have to come in. And so that'll be sort of forced compliance. But that really is being driven by the TSA's desire for us to control access of vehicles into the airport more strictly. And then we're going to next tackle pedestrian gates and some of the other security elements that we still have yet to address. So, thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Other questions for John?
John, I saw in the pack notes that the first public unveiling of the master plan information would be in the spring.
If that's what it says, that's all I've got for you.
I got questions about when can people give their input, when can they see it, so.
Yeah, I don't have anything more specific than that yet, so that was sent out in December, just to kind of give the planning advisory committee kind of some information on where we are in the process and what steps are coming next. So we do, I think, still intend to have it in the spring, but I don't have any specific dates yet. We just finished up chapter 4, which is the facility requirements chapter that was sent out just this week, I believe. Monday, yeah. And so now we're kind of at that point. We're still waiting for the FAA to approve the aviation forecasts. That's gone up to headquarters, so who knows how long that could take. And then what we call the alternatives analysis will be next. That will say, hey, here's what the aviation forecast is. Here's what we currently have at the airport. Here's what the airport needs. Now, what can that look like? And that will probably happen before we have the public meeting. So sometime in the next 90 days or so, but also possibly not. I just don't know yet. We may end up with a delay in here or somewhere as we bat around the future of the secondary runway and all of that. So it's all nebulous dates at this point. That's the best I can tell you, but we'll keep everybody posted. You'll know well in advance, and we'll talk about communication and public outreach here in a little bit. So that'll be part of that. Certainly one of the things we need to do, the airport need to do better, and we'll help with Public Works, is project information on our website and links to click to get to things. And so Trevor will talk about that a little bit later. So.
Other questions for John? I've got one.
Okay.
Is there any more discussion hinting about additional, expansion of air service here, either through Avelo adding more routes or another carrier, or anything you could share there?
Nothing that I can share. Yeah. I think we'll know a little bit more either this week or next week. There are, I will just say, there are a couple of other airlines that have reached out just for kind of initial cursory information. So there's interest there, I think, and it doesn't surprise me now that we've seen, about 100 days of air service and good air service, and the information that the data is getting out there, that there's some other interest to potentially some other destinations before another airline gets to their favorite destination. So there might be some, we'll see. I don't know when, I can't say who or to where, but both the conversations are taking place for sure. But it's good news. It's some news.
Have the flights been pretty full then?
Yeah, so the information I included in the packet, we had October, November, and December enplanement data. If you were to do the math, you'd see that it's we count enplanements. That's people getting on a plane leaving. Kind of a total of 83.5% load factor, which is pretty stout for a new routes. The Burbank flights are a little bit more full, closer to full than the Las Vegas flights. The Las Vegas flights are kind of early morning, so they're not ideal. I think Avelo may be looking to try and find a different time of day to fly, but they've got aircraft restrictions and crew restrictions. But yeah, it's launched really well and it's stayed strong. The Tuesday flights, the 5 Tuesday flights that Avelo added over the holiday period, those were all very, I would say all close to full. Full or almost,
Yeah, they're full.
They were full. So even on Tuesday,
I won't say they were booked, they were full.
yeah, everything they've touched has been good. So, and as Ron indicated, it's been Rob too. It's been a fairly smooth, seamless operation. Knocked on wood. So we're doing well.
Any Arnett?
Not sure for John, but I noticed that Avelo Airlines is a partner in the CTEC program. You know how they're involved?
They are. CTEC is having their ribbon cutting on Monday morning over here at the old NTEC hangar, just off of 25th Street. So their aviation program will be up and running. Avelo's partnered. I believe Alaska Airlines is partnered with them. A couple of local businesses. I'm not sure if Garmin may have, but I'm not entirely sure. So they've got some sponsorships and some partnerships to work on building up an aviation academy here at the airport. I would like to see, we've had kind of these long-term sort of dream discussions about, start here in this existing location, but at some point, maybe build an aviation academies elsewhere on the airport on bare ground, which would be fantastic for the valley. Great jobs, and to have a pipeline for, not just for pilot training, but for AMPs, for software development, for air traffic control, for all the different ways that the high school kid might want to be involved in aviation, even airport management. So it's very exciting. So the ribbon cutting is Monday morning, 10 a.m. I'm not at liberty to invite anyone else. That's their invitation, but it will be Monday morning. So I've seen the school buses coming by doing their test drives and things. Very exciting. It was one of the 6 key elements in the, some of you may remember that we did a strategic business plan back in 2019, and a lot of what was in there has now come to fruition. Commercial air service, aviation academy, obviously continued development on the airport. So lots of good things happening.
You remember that one?
I do.
All right, if there are no more questions for John, I guess we can move on to the next part of the agenda. I guess let me double check to make sure nobody online has got their hand raised. I think we're good. All right, so we have a couple action items this evening. The first one is nomination and election of officers. So we'll do this, we'll do the chair position first and then the vice chair position. So I guess I'll ask for nominations for the chair. Do we have any nominations out there?
I'd like to nominate John Foley.
Okay. Any other nominations? All right. Well, if there are no other nominations, I guess we can go ahead and vote on this. If all in favor of, and I'm willing to do it,
Okay.
all in favor of John Foley continuing on as the chair for the AAC for 2024, please say aye.
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 All right.
Unanimous.
Unanimous.
That's good. It must be
I still haven't gotten people mad yet, so.
There's plenty of time.
Yeah, well, actually, only a few more meetings, to be honest. My term ends this year.
Yeah, we have a
Some
couple
of
of
those old
terms.
timers are about out, yeah.
Yep.
All right, so moving on to the vice chair position. Any nominations for vice chair? All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and nominate Doug Brenizer as vice chair.
Okay.
I am willing to do it.
All right, awesome. All in favor of Doug Brenizer serving as vice chair for 2024?
Aye.
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 Again, unanimous.
Here we go.
All right.
All right.
Good thing.
Well, that's good.
Well, that was easy peasy, and it's much easier than doing a roll call vote, so I like that. Let's see, the next item on the agenda, which was a late addition, we just got it out last night. Basically, well, Doug, since you proposed it, I'd like you to go ahead and introduce it if you don't mind.
Sure, of course. So I think as John mentioned, we saw the next part of the marketing study.
Master plan.
Pardon? Master plan, sorry, master plan.
There's no marketing study right now.
Okay, sorry. Master plan was released for review by those of us that are on the committee, and I think it was circulated to everyone. Everybody see it?
No, just the planning.
Just the planning folks, okay. And there's a whole bunch of things going on with it. This happens to be the facilities section that they're completing now, and I think they feel they'll be done with it within 30 days, perhaps.
Yeah.
Something like that. So the thing that keeps coming to us, and I'll say us through SOG, Salem Airport Users Group, and some of us too here in the room, is the disposition of 1634. That's the thing that will go to the city council sometime after this study is complete, and it'll go as a separate item. They're not going to approve the entire master plan. They're going to make a determination on the runway specifically shortly after this plan comes out. So what I was wanting to pitch, and a little bit of background, those of us that were involved with the air service, and I'm not picking on anybody, I'm just saying that it was for a while an uphill battle. And one of the agencies that was consulting on that was Mead and Hunt, which are the same folks that are doing this. I'll just call it a runway study for lack of a better description.
Yep.
And like a lot of consulting companies, they are covering themselves and tend to be a little conservative, in my opinion, on how they approach these things. So the determination in the report that we got says, and lists 2 qualifications that we no longer meet with that runway, which will make that runway ineligible for FAA funding. So that would then shift the responsibility for maintenance and all things back to the city. And I think what will happen is that if there isn't any more input, they'll get Mead and Hunt's report, and I'm talking about the mayor and the city council. There won't be much to vote on. Nobody's going to pay for it, so we'll have to do something with it, is the way it looks to me. So what I was hoping is that we might consider writing a letter to this mayor and the city council saying that one of the things we would recommend is that in addition to the Mead and Hunt report, an outside, say, independent or third-party agency do a review to confirm, because the two most important aspects that they have to evaluate is how much is it going to cost and what are the alternatives for funding, other than just to say to the city, here's the bill. And I don't think the report's going to get into that in much depth based on how the airport or how Mead and Hunt approach the, and I'm not saying they will, I'm just saying that it would be good to make positive that those numbers are as accurate as we can possibly get them. And that any alternative of any variety has been explored to some extent. So that's my pitch. Ron, did you have anything you want? You've heard plenty about this too, I know.
Yeah, the pilots are concerned about the future use of that runway. And I know John's heard a lot about us wanting to use that runway, and there's a lot of people that use that runway, and they really don't want to see it go away in the future. And so the best information we can get on making decisions on that, I think is absolutely critical, because it's the flying public and those that come through my lobby every day really would like to see that crosswind runway. And it may take a while to get to that point, but it's the one runway they use a lot. And they would prefer not to have it go away. So
I think we'll be criticized if we don't look into as many options as practical.
yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what they're saying as well, is that we just need to get all the information we can rather than having it come from one source. Let's just double check the numbers and make sure they're okay. They're good.
Question for you, John. I know Mead and Hunt's kind of been our go-to for a lot of these things in the past. Do we have other consultants or other groups that would be competent to perform that same kind of independent review? And would we know?
Yeah, there are a number of, national aviation consulting firms that do architectural engineering planning. So we could do an RFP for an independent review of a study or a technical memorandum and ask them to review that data, get a scope of work and a fee for that. And so there are firms that do that both in the Northwest and nationwide. It could be, doesn't have to be here.
And just another footnote, one of the difficulties that we ran into with commercial air services, that when it did go to the city council and the mayor in particular, the 2 consulting firms couldn't have been further apart. I mean, I think about 3 times, if I remember right, the expense. And I think the mayor kind of threw up his hands and said, we can't vote on something like this. We have to narrow this down. So they were both sent back to take another look. And finally, we came to some middle ground that seemed to make it viable. And I think it also gave people time to consider other options and funding and some things like that. So I'm not saying this would go exactly like that, but it doesn't seem to be a step that would hurt if we could go through that. Okay, that's the end of my pitch.
I guess, do we have, oh, go ahead, Chris. Oh, we got Counselor Nishioka. Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, Counselor.
Yeah, thank you. I'm an alternate on the legislative committee, and frequently I get to sit in because one of our members is not able to come on a regular basis. And so we have both federal and state lobbyists. And in the legislative meeting a little while back, I had requested if there was anything that the federal lobbyists might be able to determine if there was opportunities for that second runway, especially in terms of having Salem Airport be set up for emergency preparedness, as we would be a location that would be necessary from the coast and basically east and west. And so that is on their agenda to be looking at, but I don't know if it's specifically with regards to the runway or if it's primarily just at the airport and emergency preparedness. And so, John, I wonder if you have any, I think there's something about there's not any more grants or funding that could be available for that second runway. I just keep trying to see if there's anything that could be done so that we could save it for, especially if there was needs when the wind is going in different directions or if people are needing to fly in.
I think
Or out.
that's a great question, Counselor. I think from a legislative, political standpoint, the easiest path would be to encourage the FAA to either review or revise their stance on what is eligible infrastructure for grants. Right now, that runway is not eligible, and what Doug referred to in the report is the language out of the FAA guidance that explains why runways are or are not eligible. Now, that's the FAA rule. That's what exists. That doesn't mean that they can't be encouraged to make an exception or to change that rule, but that's a political process that's outside of my purview for sure. That would make that runway eligible again for funding if it's because of emergency response, or if it's because we're now a commercial service airport, or whatever the reasons would be. I'm relegated to what the current law is, the FAA guidance, and so all I can say and all the consultants can say is it's not an eligible runway. If somebody can take that fight, I'll say fight, to take that issue to the FAA and maybe even to Washington, DC, and the mayor and I've talked about this and encourage the FAA to review that, find ways to make exceptions if there's a defense for it, and maybe that's another path that can be taken.
Well, as I said, the federal lobbyists listened, and I think because there is this big push at the federal level for improved infrastructure for emergency preparedness and basically airport infrastructure, that maybe there will be something. I don't know what that might be, but at least I got it out there, and hopefully there'll be some talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Counselor Nishioka, if the AAC were to recommend that the city do investigate this second independent review, do you have any feel for what the city council might think of that? Is that something to be open to?
Well, I can never guess what the city council might do. That's something I struggle with on a regular basis. But I would say that question could be directed either from this committee, John, to Keith Staley, city manager, or the mayor. I think that would be a better place to be asking it than asking me.
Okay. I guess, Doug, I believe there was maybe a motion that would be associated with this, so we can actually.
Well, if there isn't any more discussion, I don't want to be the only one I would certainly make a motion that we put forth a letter because we've had good success. The only other time I've been around when we did it, so it worked once before. I was suggesting that we try it again, so that would be my motion.
Okay. I guess I think that's good enough. Do we have a second for that
A
motion?
second wholeheartedly, yes.
All right. So I just to state the motion, I think, basically, Doug, if I paraphrase you, the AAC would prepare and have the chair sign a letter to the city council recommending that the city initiate an independent review of the runway 1634 technical memorandum to confirm the projected cost and viable alternative funding sources have been identified. I think that's
Perfect.
all right. We have a second for that. So all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
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 All right, that's a unanimous.
That's why you're the chair. You're good.
All right.
All right, I can work with either one or both of you on
Okay, I
drafting
think
letter if you like.
Doug's already got a draft started, so we can
Yeah,
get it.
it's gonna need some work, but it was just a framework kind of thing to get it.
And Doug, I'm happy to review.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I think we'll send the draft to the.
That'd be good, yeah.
And then before you. Send it. Perfect. And we do have AAC letterhead, so we'll be on official airport advisory commission. We don't use it very often, but we.
I was gonna say, I've never seen it, I don't think.
Got it.
The last letter we sent to the city council was on it. It was really great.
Cool.
Did you see
Two
it?
great ones.
Must have missed it.
More professional than you think.
Let's see, I think that takes us through our action items. So the next agenda item is items for commission discussion, and I believe we've got Trevor Smith online, who's going to give us a presentation about public information and outreach.
Hello, yes, my name is Trevor Smith. I'm the Public Information Officer for the City of Salem's Public Works Department. I don't have much of a presentation for y'all tonight. I just wanted to introduce myself and let you know that I do exist, and I am very interested in airport news and airport developments. One of my goals in this coming year, now that the airport has rolled into the Public Works portfolio of events, is to keep touting how important the airport is as a property and a resource, and how critical it is to the city. So I'm interested in hearing all of your ideas about ways we can, promote the airport and activities at the airport, and keep showing the community of Salem how things are growing out there and how conditions just keep improving over time. Avelo was a good, example of that. That was one of our, most clicked on, most seen communication materials citywide, was Avelo's first flight in October, and how that, changed the airport. And I'm here to help in any way I can to keep spreading the word. I'll be at the CTEC CTEC opening of their new facility on Monday, taking pictures and sharing those. And I hope to continue to do more of that work, around other, interested businesses and industries around the airport. Another aspect of my job you may not know is I'm also heavily involved in the city's emergency communications. So being plugged in and aware of things going on at the airport is critical. When safety issues arise or need to be, broadcasted to the public, that's something that I would specifically focus on. And I wanted you to know that I keep an eye to that as well.
We have some questions for Trevor. Arnaud, I'm assuming you have a few.
Hi, Trevor. I'm Arnaud. I represent the neighborhoods on this commission. I noted that with the most recent emergency drill, that the nearby businesses were not informed about what's going on. Neither were the neighborhoods themselves. So there were some questions asked about the drill, what's happening, seeing all these emergency vehicles come by en masse. So we feel there might be a way maybe to communicate that to at least the nearby businesses that something will happen, so they don't have to be scared. Also, I didn't hear talk about communication in general to the municipalities around the airports. For example, wouldn't it be useful if people could easily find on the airport websites where they could file a complaint when they're negatively affected by the flights?
Okay, so first of all, I'm sorry that the word didn't get spread as efficiently as possible. We issued press releases and posted to social media and had articles in our citywide newspaper alerting people to the training. And we spread that word. It was in the newspapers as well. And so I'm sorry if that didn't get reached everywhere it needed to get reached, and we will continue to try to penetrate that for those businesses and those neighborhood associations to make sure that everybody knows what's going on at the airport. As far as our website, we do have a website. We kind of revamped it over the summer. And it is, searchable, and, we're able to put lots of, information on there, and there is a link to provide noise complaints and, to make sure that those go to the right people on that website. So if we continue to have people that need, want to request, noise complaints or anything like that, I'd be happy to publicize, that information and that how-to of how to do that. And, make sure that the neighborhood associations know, because, together as a group, those complaints, work a little bit better if the neighborhood associations are involved and everybody's experiencing the same issues.
Thank you, Trevor. Are you referring to the city website?
Yes.
Or is it now a separate one?
No,
Okay. I gave a presentation 2 meetings ago because I identified problems with finding information on there. The searching for very accurate terms about the emergency drill did not provide the information that I would expect to see there. So I'm not sure that's a very good way for the public to find specific information.
Yeah, our news section on the website, let me just do a quick search if I can have a quick minute. Open up tab here, sorry.
If you'd like to screen share, you're welcome to.
Oh, yeah.
I think we can, I think that can happen.
Yeah, let's see if I can find some news. Hold on one second.
Yeah, go ahead, Trevor. I was gonna say, well, Trevor's doing that too. He and I have been in contact, and he's got a really, really good group of people that work for him. And so we're looking at other airport websites of what information, how do people expect to find things at the airport? Typically you'll go on an airport website, there'll be flight information, click here to book tickets, and it takes you to the airline and all that stuff. But typically there are tabs for security, so you get your access control badge application there. There's project page, so all the projects that we're working on with dates and things will be in there. And so we're trying to find other ways to where people can find kind of one-stop shop. And so it may not be perfect today, but we'll continue to Trevor's already added, you added something recently for me. I can't remember the rules and regulations, I think, weren't published on there. So we got those published on there. So it's a work in progress.
Yeah, I think the only complaint I've ever heard is that you have to know what you're looking for to find it. That's the only
It's not quite as intuitive.
comment I've heard.
Yeah, the search function has been an issue with everything with our new website redesign, and we are working with our vendor trying to find solutions that make it easier to use the search function. That's been a common complaint that we've experienced.
That's good to hear.
Well, and I think at least in that specific instance of that emergency one, I think because I do remember there were articles in the news and on the website, but it was all within 20, maybe 24 hours exactly of the event. There was not a whole lot of advance notice, and I think that's kind of what got people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And the example I gave then was that I'm sitting in my office, I see plenty of emergency vehicles come by. Where would I look for information? I would look on the city website. I would use the search. That's what I expect them to get me information about. This is a drill or something is happening.
It's better to look there than say next door.
I wouldn't
Because you'll get a lot of bad information, right?
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Now, I have noticed though with the website, the city's website, if you just use your search engine, that usually it's the city of Salem that comes up first when you're looking at a specific thing, like emergency drill or what's happening. It usually is the city of Salem press releases that come up very high up in the search engine. So that is happening more frequently, which is nice.
Trevor, were you gonna share anything with us, or did you just strike
No,
out?
I don't, yeah, I would have to get back to you on that.
So what's the best course if people have recommendations? Should I just funnel them through me to you?
Yeah, I think that, airport should, funnel them to me and I can, blast them to media and I can, put them on social media and one thing always helps is images. Images or video really help tell the story. So if something's happening and you happen to have a cell phone, snap a picture because that really helps when you share information.
Well, any other questions for Trevor? No, Trevor, I really appreciate you
Thank
coming
you.
to the meeting.
Yeah,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much and
Thanks,
look
Trevor.
forward to talking to you more. in the
Great
future.
job over the snow and ice. Trevor joined us here at the last minute because he had to take some time off. So it was 4 days of
Yeah.
craziness. So Public Works is pretty busy. Thank you, Trevor.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon.
Fellows, the website isn't really very robust about Salem either, but that's not anything we can control. It's just hard to figure out when they're coming and going.
Yeah, it's not as user friendly as I'd like.
I hear them advertising on the radio.
Yeah.
Let's see. That was the one pre-planned item for commission discussion. Is there any other things we want to discuss while we're here together today? All right. Seeing there's nothing else to discuss, I say we can adjourn the meeting for this evening. We'll see you again in March. And back at our usual, I think the third Wednesday, 6 p.m.
Wednesday, every other month.
And I appreciate everybody's flexibility for postponing this one a week. I think it helped get us to.
It helped me and it helped just with the weather and everything too. As it turned out, I would not want to try to get everybody in here Wednesday night. It wasn't good yet. So
Yeah.
we're struggling getting the airport open Wednesday night. So thank you, everybody online. We're gonna go ahead and click off here.
Thank you.
Take care.
Night.